Pleasant good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to the Monday's episode of Speaking Out in Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Welcome. Today, Monday, the 30th day of October 2023. We welcome you to this Monday's session. And as we would always begin by saying, share the live, let people know that we're on. I'm happy to report that the schoolyard was full last night. This morning, as soon as we went live, lots of students pouring in. So the interest is there, and we'll continue to come and bring you the live, credible, valid information. So yeah, share the live. Let everyone know that we are with you. My colleague is already in the studio. We seem to have issues sorted out this morning. Let's hope it continues like this for the next 2 hours or so. So welcome one and all. Welcome. Today is a good day. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's celebrate being in the land of the living. Many persons would not have been this fortunate. So we have to give praise and thanks. Always give praise and thanks to the Almighty for allowing us to see a new dawn. We have lots to tell you about today. Lots and lots of stuff to tell you about. We hope we can get you the information in the allotted time. You know, we have been trying to stick to this 1.5 hour time frame, but we get in challenges, man. They have so many things to talk about that sometimes it's difficult to stay in that time frame. But nevertheless, what we're going to do, as we have said, we are going to continue to come. By now, you know, we have Mondays and Wednesdays. But if it is, there are issues to be discussed on the other days, we are going to try to find the time to come here and to bring it to you. We have had sessions on a Thursday, we have had session on a Sunday, and yeah, we will continue to come and we'll continue to bring the information to you. So share the live and let people know that we are here. And again, I encourage you to follow the page. Many persons are following, many have not. Many of you who are here right now, because I get notification when persons follow. And when I look at the profile of the page, I can see those who are regulars and have not followed the page. I don't want to out you at this stage, but please go and follow the page on Facebook. If you are on YouTube, you subscribe on YouTube. You subscribe to the page on YouTube and you follow the page on Facebook and follow the Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. And in that way, whenever we go on any live, including live that we have been doing when we among the protests, you are going to get the notification. Because we have done some lives, I think 4 or 5 lives outside the Venezuelan embassy. And the only way you're going to know that is if you're following the page, either my personal page or the Speaking Out page, and then you will get the notification when we go live. So share, and let people know that we're here this morning to bring you the information. As I've said, my colleague is already in the studio, and we're going to run through this roll call as quickly as possible. People were here. We scheduled this program last night because we had some issues last week in scheduling. So we went early last night to try to iron out the little kinks, and we were able to do so. And immediately we scheduled the program. And as early as 7:22 last night, people in the schoolyard. First one, Sean, you got a gold medal. Sean was here early last night. Then we had Vibord, regular. Leon came in at 7:47. Shetrat came in. The original black man was in class last night. Wayne from the UK, he came in very early at 8:14 p.m. last night. Charlene was there. And Charlene was a little worried because when you came into the classroom, when you came into the schoolyard last night, you was the only female, so I was a little worried for your safety. And then shortly after, Jean came in, followed by Patricia, and then all came in. So, yeah, we had people in there since last night. Wayne came in at 9:18. And then Lucius was here last night, 9:21. Joan came in. Then we had Daniel. We had Leslie. Leslie is here making some comments and so on. He says he's in the class and he put up tent and all of that. Corinne came in at 10:47. Then Derek came in at 11:41. Then the first person early this morning was Raul at 1:07. Raul came in Stay on, followed him. Isabella, Pamela, Felisa, Carlisle, and the numbers are there. Cecile, George, Francis. Francis, you're a tourist. You were following from Melanie, then you went to Queens, and now you say that you're in Pennsylvania. Enjoy. Sydney came next. Pauline was in class. Rohan don't miss a class. Jakey was here. Orly, John Cummins, always ready. He's every reporting for class. Hazel came in. Como, 8218 from New Jersey is here. Tessa is in class. Marled from Linden is here. Winston from the UK is here as well. Vernon, Denise, Ingrid is here. Princess Earl from Lamar Springs. Buxton is here. Charles Goodman is here, my squad mate. Carter Lewis, another squad mate, is here since 727, 9430. Then we had Bart. Then we had Ulrich. Ulrich, welcome, Ulrich. Then we had Wayne again, coming back in the yard. Floyd was here very early. Carville, another squad mate of mine, is here. Patricia, Maureen, another squad mate. Gaston is here. Another squad mate. Carl is in class. Terrence, TK is here. Doreen, another squad mate of mine, W349. Then we had Anthony coming in. Then we had Gordon, old police from Canada, 6659 was his regulation number. Colin came in. Enric said that he's from Florida, but he was in Guyana a few weeks back and saw Forsan, the word policia, on the police vehicles. Yes, we're going to talk about that a little later. So as I said, you saw it Forsan, but the things that we're telling you in this program are all true, all easily verifiable. Brian was here next. Courtney was here. Two Sauls, Brian Saul and Courtney Saul. Desiree, Barbara, Jacko from Georgia, Magnell, Tayden, Marlin, Emerson, Danny 9731, old detective, is here. Yvonne, David, Rhonda, Debbie, Karen, Family Music. Then we have John, Marvin. Wayne came in a third time. And then when we went live, we had Janice. Then all the way from Paris, Clifton Strout, all the way from Paris, Queenie from West Coast Barbies. And the list goes on. And then we have Mario came in. Those are Facebookers coming. So we're going to come back and acknowledge all of those persons who are here. And let me, so welcome. As I share the live, let people know that we are on. And where do we start? Maybe our belated birthday greetings to Schwartz, Leon, who's on the program. He was here since last night. We missed your birthday, which was last Wednesday. So belated birthday greetings to you. And we also have belated birthday greetings for Buddy, retired Deputy Superintendent Louis Golding, 9681, I think his number was. And he celebrated the birthday yesterday, I think it might have been. So belated birthday greetings to all you folks. Now let me give you a quick update on the court matter. I did indicate that Friday last, the trial in the civil lawsuit brought against me by Karim Bash was set for trial last Friday. However, the trial did not commence. There were some what we call technical legal issues came up, and the matter is now the trial is set to commence, or to continue, I should say, because it's actually started. Process started to continue on the 24th of November. So that continues then. And in terms of the conspiracy to commit fraud, in which Mr. Conway and others, we are all co-defendants, that continues tomorrow at the Georgetown Magistrate Court at 10 o'clock. That continues there. So that is an update on those two matters. Ulrich, and these guys with the cricket, I hope you're enjoying the cricket, you know. We had a case where another upset, man. Netherlands beat Bangladesh, which I consider an upset. And then the thrashing that England got yesterday, oh my Lord. Some people suggested maybe they should just pack up and go. The defending champions, I think it's 5 on a trot they have lost, right? Blows like, well, not on a trot, but the last 5. Blows like first time, man. Blows like first time. They're losing massively. Yesterday, they lost by 100 runs, right? They was never in the game really after the first wicket fell. They never in the game. Blows like first time. You know, everybody just run down West Indies, how West Indies just choke and West Indies can't do. But you see the other chokers as well. You have chokers and you have jokers. So you see what is going on. But let's continue to enjoy. There's a very competitive match going on right now where Afghanistan is chasing a score set up by Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan has been competitive throughout the tournament so far. They have beaten some big ones, including England, and the tournament is getting nicer and nicer. So yeah, for us cricket lovers, I think we are enjoying it very much. Let me bring in my colleague, Mr. Conway, for him to give his opening greetings. CC, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. Praise the Lord. I'm in the land of the living, preparing to do God's work. We have lots of work to be done, so let's get on with it.
Yeah, you sound like the referee. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. And I want to say too that I hope you had a wonderful weekend today being Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend and that you're looking forward to a very productive week. I am looking forward to a productive week. I hope you are all doing the same. So let me move on to the first subject, what it is. The first thing that we have to do is to give an update on the David Patterson matter, CC. Remember some time ago, former minister of the coalition government, David Patterson, I think he was Minister of Public Infrastructure, just over a month ago, attempted to leave the country, Guyana, to go to the U.S. where they had this conference in Washington. According to the reports, Mr. Conway went to the airport, and let me walk it through again so people can understand. He checked in the airline, checked in with the security, because once you check the airlines, then you have to take your bags for security check, and it go. He went through that. Then there's another security check before you can enter the immigration area. He went through all of that. He then he presented himself to an immigration officer with his passport, no doubt with the visa in the passport. The people satisfied themselves that there was no impediment to him traveling, and he was allowed to proceed beyond that point. He then went past security, and while waiting, claim about half an hour after, while waiting in the departure lounge, he was approached by an immigration officer who told him, they invited him to the office, eventually told him that he was not allowed to travel. There was something in the system, they say, which prevented him from traveling. I'm saying it's people trying to throw the immigration ranks under the bus, because if there was anything in the system at the time when Mr. Patterson presented himself to the immigration, he would not have been allowed to pass that point. So clearly, when he presented himself to the immigration officer, there was nothing in the system. And as I've said before, I suspect at no time there was anything in the system. Somebody apparently called, and somebody gave instruction for Patterson to be prevented from leaving. So he was prevented from leaving. Even though there's a ruling, we know that the High Court ruled in December last year that the police cannot prevent a person from leaving, even if you're charged and you're before the court. Only an order from the court can prevent you from leaving the jurisdiction. And they still did that. And in the Patterson's case, when he appeared before the magistrate, I remember what he was charged for. He was charged with peeing on the side of the road. He was charged with peeing. And in this case, when he appeared before the magistrate, as part of the bail conditions, made it clear that Mr. Patterson should be allowed to travel on official or private business. And they prevented him from traveling. Well, the update I wanted to give is that he has I saw a letter or a news article saying that Mr. Patterson sued the state for 25 million Guyana dollars. 25 million, I think, is too small. But let me see what's going to happen, because I think a demand is first made for 25, and then if the Attorney General don't come up, then he might take it to the next level. Let me bring in CC to comment on that before we move on. CC, what are your take on this Patterson story?
Well, first thing, you blunder like the police there, because I said Conway went to the airport. I didn't go. Perhaps I need to test out. Because they might prevent me, and I might win some money. Because the thing is that the police can't unilaterally just stop you from going. It gotta be the court order, right? And it's been there for long. I remember with this Clarence Chu case, where I think his lawyer was Rex McKay, and Rex said, let me test out the thing. So he ports the ticket with the intention that he wouldn't be going anywhere. And when he reached the airport, they block him. And he sued them and won a lot of money. The thing is that the police cannot unilaterally stop you from going. You have in the Constitution the freedom of movements in and out of Ghana, and if they want to prevent you, they gotta put you court, and that's the whole thing. So I'm happy that Mr. Patterson has taken action against them, and hope others who suffer the same fate will do so.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's important because some people are saying that maybe they try to blame, as I said, they try to throw the immigration officers under the bus. But let me tell you this: there is no immigration officer at Timeri or anywhere else who would have prevented Mr. Patterson from traveling on their own. Let's understand this thing clearly. No way. The officer in charge there would not have done it. And people are suggesting that maybe some politician might have intervened. Now, let me say this as far as I know too, and I'm willing to bet on this, that even if a politician or anybody outside of the system had called the officer at Timeri there to say, prevent Mr. Patterson from traveling, the first thing that they would have done, they would have told their seniors. So they would have informed the deputy chief immigration officer. The deputy chief immigration officer would have informed the chief immigration officer, who was the commissioner. So trying to show these ranks out there under the bus, not going to work. And then when they matter, well, they did apologize to Mr. Patterson, and they said that his name was inadvertently left or placed on this no-fly list. But the thing is illegal. Since December, the judge ruled that any such list without the order from a court is illegal. And even if the name was there before, the time from the moment that order was given by the High Court, that thing should have been removed. His name should have been removed from the time. And true to form, when this happened on the day, they released, they're going to have the Office of Professional Responsibility. OPR is going to investigate. This is over a month. And we said it before, the people who are likely to be involved would have been the Deputy Chief Immigration Officer, who is a superintendent, and the Chief Immigration Officer, who is the Commissioner of Police. So you're saying that OPR would have investigated the matter where these people were likely culpable, and the man in charge of OPR is a Deputy Superintendent. So I really can't understand, and we have not heard anything further about that. And I don't expect to hear anything further. It's just one of those things that, like, OPR is going to investigate in so many other matters, and then you don't hear anything further about it. SCC, this OPR thing they want to tell us about?
Yeah, that's so true. OPR investigating, and they just leave it at that. And the thing is, I want to believe that after you cleared immigration, suspicion is, they have a reporting procedure. Person of interest. Paul Slow just book out and head in, and somebody must have reported, and word circulate, and perhaps some politician or somebody say, "Hey, stop the man from going. He mustn't go away," and that was it.
In these matters, I recall the Attorney General making statements about the amount of money government has to pay out when police and immigration in Ghana are part of the immigration department is part of the police force. When they commit these unlawful acts, government got to pay out millions and millions of dollars. I recall the Attorney General some time ago crying out about that. But it will continue to happen because these people who commit this egregious act violate people's constitutional rights and all of that. Nothing happens to them. And at the end of the day, this $25 million or whatever amount is paid. Is who paid? It's taxpayers got to pay. It's you and I, taxpayers, have to be paying this money. And it will continue. We had the case too with the Ramana from SOKU arresting the attorney for advising her client to remain silent. The judge ruled that the act was unconstitutional, unlawful. And I think they had adjourned to decide on the quantum of damages to be awarded. We didn't hear anything further on that as well. But all of these things are happening, and no one is held to account, and that is why it will continue to happen. In Ramana's case, the man is now a divisional commander. The man is playing musical chair. After that, they move him from SOKU to traffic to East Coast to understand now, he's somewhere maybe on the East Bank at regional division number 4B. So when people commit these acts, instead of being sanctioned, they are rewarded. So the unlawful, unconstitutional acts are likely to continue. CC?
That's true, and nothing is being done to them. So business as usual. Business as usual, Paul.
Yeah, business as usual. Let me move on. We're moving on now to this matter where it was reported recently, this murder, where a young businessman was brutally murdered on the east, La Penitence. Let me pull up the here it is. The young businessman, they say, according to the Ghana police force, has reported that Singh, a man named Singh, Amit Singh, some 21-year-old businessman, was lured on Tuesday by 4 suspects, so house in Middle Road, La Penitence, Georgetown, by claiming they were in possession of gold for sale. Now, whilst at the house, the 4 men allegedly brutally murdered Singh and wrapped his body in a sheet. They then took the cash that the victim had taken to purchase the gold and locked the building with the body inside. Investigators later arrested Yogendra Sugdeo, a close friend, who later confessed to the crime. On Wednesday morning, that is last Wednesday, Sugdeo took the police to his home at Lot 1896 20th Avenue Diamond Housing Scheme, where a search was carried out in his room and a sum of $7,791 and $5,000 bill was discovered. During that day, police also indicated that they managed to track down the 3 other suspects. However, the trio denied their involvement in the murder and said that they were only employees of Sugdeo. Additionally, they all gave account of where they were at the time of the murder, and investigators are currently making efforts to confirm or reject their alibis. Now, the thing about this matter, why we, apart from the fact that it's a terrible murder, this young man was lured into this building, apparently wanted gold to buy, and he was told that these people had the gold. When he got there, he was killed. The other man, Yogendra Singh, is the police saying confessed. The others denied being there. And I think Yogendra Singh, according to the news, later said that they were never there. These persons were never there. So he lied in the first instance, and they were never there. And the thing came, they're dancing with it, because the information is that up to recently being within the past month, Yogendra Singh, the main suspect in this murder, was a member of the Guyana police force. My understanding, he was stationed at the police special branch. They're ducking and they're hiding, and they don't want to reveal that part. So the question is, again, what kind of people you are having in the police force? A man just left, and if you check the man's profile, the man calling himself cartel and all sort of Escobar, and he's a big time thing, posing with money and all sort of fancy champagne. So what type of character, what type of background you have checked you after these people? I'm interested to know when he joined the force. When did this man join the force, and what type of training he would have had? So this man just left the police force, committing this real gruesome murder on somebody who is supposed to be his friend, someone who is supposed to be his friend. I noted the paper saying, I think it was on Friday, the police had to seek extension of the 72 hours. You know, the Constitution, a person should not be kept in custody for more than 72 hours without being charged. If the 72 hours is approaching and you have not finished your investigation, you have to go to the High Court for an order to extend. I understand they went there, and I understand further, based on the release, that perhaps one of the main reasons that this man has not been charged yet, because the post-mortem examination was not completed up to Friday. So I suspect that today the PM might be done, so they're going to get the cause of death, and they may then proceed to charge. But the next worrying thing, as far as I'm aware, is confession statement. The man has given a confession statement, and therefore I'm hoping that they are not going to rely on this confession statement alone, because only recently we saw these 3 men who were charged with the murder of the East Bank Essequibo couple got off when the confession statements, the only evidence that they had against these people are 3 confession statements. The statements were thrown out and the men walked free. And that is the same matter with the Attorney General saying that the DPP. He hopes that the DPP appeal, that dog whistle that we talk about on Wednesday. But see, what is your take on this matter with this recent policeman being accused of murder?
Well, Paul, the dancing, soca playing, and they're attempting to waltz, and they're going out of step. And the thing is that they continue. I hold no brief for the ex-policeman. I understand a couple of weeks ago he was dismissed. I hold no brief him. I don't know him. But but what I am concerned with is that they still continue to splash in the media persons who they hold, who they have as suspects, and they put in their photographs in the newspaper. We had plenty case about the place. We had it in Borbis where that woman and her son was brutally murdered. A whole set of suspects, the name, the address, the call names and everything placed in the social media. And so far nobody has been charged. And let me just I like to read the law, And the law, the Police Act, Chapter 1601, Section 25, it about powers to take measurements, photographs, and fingerprints. 25.1 says, it shall be lawful for any member of the force to take and record for the purpose of identification any measurements, photographs, and fingerprint impressions of all persons who may from time to time be in lawful custody, providing that if such measurements, photographs, and fingerprint impressions are taken of a person who has not previously been convicted for any criminal offense, and such person is discharged or acquitted by a court, all records relating to such measurements, photographs, and fingerprints impression shall forthwith be destroyed or handed over to such persons. So here it is, the law gives you the authority to take the photographs, but the person is in charge, the person has not been convicted. It's either you destroy them or you hand them back to the person. But what they're doing, they're splashing it across the social media. And I was happy in one instance is that they declared that they recover 7 point something million dollars from the suspect's home. It's good that they declare whether that is the amount or not. I don't know, but at least they declare something. But then I'm bothered because they had a 50 million robbery at the regional office in Borbis. 50 million, and the police said there was 4 suspects. Apparently one was shot during an investigation and killed, and they arrested 3 persons and charged them. Imagine arrested 3 persons and charged them. And not I understand that a large amount of money was recovered by the police, and they didn't declare a cent. Not a granger was declared of the $50 million. And in the one where the man was murdered in Bobby's the businessman, the police report saying that they found the suspect with a quantity of money in his crotch. Why is a quantity of money? And they didn't say how much money. Well, it's $20, $50, how much. And they didn't say that the money was lodged at the police station. So I'm concerned when police finding out all sort of money, and they're not lodging the money. They're not declaring the money. So we need to look at that. And also police needs to get back to the current case. The police need to look at the persons who they recruit, and especially in the special branch, not only recruit them, but you need to be checking on them. You heard this man posing as businessman, several business entity, and in the special branch didn't pick up that, or maybe by the pick that up, why they dismiss it. I don't know that persons in the system who you recruited, you have to be constantly monitoring them, and the saying that we got to be careful that the police recovering money and not declaring it and not lodging it. And getting back to the Bobby situation, understand that money was to pay those half-month workers, and so far they have not been paid for the month, for the months, those who had performed duties.
Yeah, the point here is well made that they continue to splash the names of suspect, because this man, I all know brief frame as well, but I'm talking about what the protocol should be, what it used to be, is that when a person is suspected to be involved in a crime, the person name is not released. When the person is charged, that is the time you release. And again, these are matters because it's persons are arrested as suspects. Their names splashed all over social and regular media. And then at the end of the day, they are not charged. And the people can very well seek legal redress. And the Attorney General is talking about having to pay all of this money. Perhaps he would want to advise the police that they should not be given the names of persons until they are charged. That used to be the protocol. The only time you're gonna release if the person is not charged is if the person is wanted. You've made lots of efforts to get the person, and the person is clearly evading the police. Then a wanted bulletin is issued with all the information, and that is the only time. Other than that, it is wrong. It is unfair for you to, a man is suspected to be involved in a crime, man or woman, and you get his name, address, alias, and all sort of things plastered across social media. In the case of the Borbies murder at Rosal that you referred to earlier, family members were arrested, several persons were arrested, they were released, people were rearrested, their names all over, and up to now, not a single person has been charged in that matter. So you stain the character of those, because at the end of the day, people know that they were arrested, they were as suspects, and it is wrong. And it brings me to a next matter where I saw yesterday 3 suspected ATM scammers detained. Police detained 3 persons who were suspected to be ATM scammers. They went to several ATMs, and apparently they use some bankyards, foreign and other bankyards, and they are withdrawing money. They are scammers. But again, the names and photographs of these persons are in the media. The names and photographs are in the media, and they are only suspects. They have not been charged with any offense, and I continue to say it is wrong to do that. And people have to fight their case. People got to make sure. Let me understand this thing. Let me understand this. There have to be protocols that the police must follow. The courts have got to get involved and say, look, you cannot do this. You have to get involved. Like they got involved with the matter with Ramana. You cannot arrest a lawyer for advising our client to remain silent. Wrong. You cannot stop Mr. Patterson from traveling out of the country when there's no order from the court. Wrong. But just paying out the money and just complaining that the government or the state has to pay all of these large sums of money without making sure that the people who are culpable, the culprits, are not dealt with. You're just wasting time. You're wasting time. So you have the matter with the murder. Man, the suspect, Sugdio, as I said, a recent member of the force, is a suspect. The man is in custody. The man has not been charged, and the name all over the place. You have these 3 ATM scammers, as they call them, scammers, whatever that is, right? They are suspects. They're suspected to have committed a crime. You have not charged them as yet, but you have the release to the media and with their pictures, and it's the mugshot picture released to the media. These things are wrong. It reminds us of the case with Sir Mars, who was murdered. The confession statement, the video confession statement given by the suspect in that matter was released to a news outlet, newsroom, released to them. And then they had the temerity to say that they saw a statement from the wife of the suspect which contradicts other statements she's making publicly. Those things are wrong. Those things are wrong. And it is time someone, apart from going to the court, you shouldn't even get to the stage. The police should put proper procedures and processes in place and say that this thing should not happen. These people who are there as a corporate communication unit should be told in no uncertain terms that you can't do it that way. You cannot do it that way. When the persons are charged, yes, this person is charged for that offense, as the case will be. Yeah. But just be holding the person as a suspect. And as I've said in the case of the murder at Rosal, they are released. But even before they are released, the names and the pictures are all over. Well, I'm not sure pictures in that case, but people's names are on social media from official release by the police, you know. So when we talk about names on social media, this is not somebody just take out the thing and put it there. These are releases from the police, and it is wrong, and it should stop. It is wrong, and it should stop. CC, do you want to say anything further on this unlawful act by the police?
You made it very clear, Paul, and I hope that they will put a stop to it, that they put an end to it. You charge, yes, circulate. But you didn't charge, don't circulate anything. It really left a stigma on them. One man told me in the same board, this mother, one man told me that he's not a murder suspect. People calling him a murder accused. Those kind of things will remain with you, man.
And I'm reminded here by one of the students, you had a matter that we reported on this program not so long ago, where a doctor is accused of raping a pregnant Venezuelan woman. They claim that the man has been evading arrest, but his name is not mentioned. His name is not mentioned. No wanted bulletin is issued for him. But here you have other suspects whose names and photographs are released to the police. And in this case, a doctor, they said a doctor, this is the police release, that a doctor is accused of committing rape. She was lured into some place on the pretext that she was going to be employed, and she was brutally raped. That is what the report is, right? They said doctor, no name, the doctor and your name, doctor no name. And no attempt has been made, as far as I'm aware, to issue a wanted bulletin for this doctor, who we understand had previous transgressions. So its name and everything should be known, but they're not doing that. And that is the problem, the double standard. So the accused of the murder, name can be released, and photographs too, mugshot. The so-called ATM scammers, names and mugshot can be released, but this doctor who is accused of committing a crime, no release of his name, no release of his address, no release of a wanted bulletin for this doctor. So that is why we say we live in an animal farm where all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. That is what we have. That is what we have. Now let's move on to the next issue. The next issue, CC, I want you to talk about this magical reduction in the this $214 million that torn tree. But before you go, let me read cut today. There's an article. I want to read it before. Permit me to read this part of the editorial from Stabrook News today before I invite you to make your comment. And let me read what it says. After several days of questioning, the Ministry of Natural Resources on Thursday, October 26, finally announced what penalty will be meted out to its senior petroleum coordinator, Gopal Bobby Gosai, over the scandalous, unauthorized miniaturizing of disputed oil revenues in clandestine discussion with ExxonMobil. It goes on to say it was in the late hours of October the 5th that the Ministry of Natural Resources, in a release, had blamed Mr. Gosai for the boiling down of the 214.4 million figure to US, that is US dollars we're talking about, to US 3 million with the minister, Vikram Bharat announcing that he had asked the permanent secretary to take the necessary disciplinary measures. It took 3 weeks of questioning by Stabrook News before the decision of the disciplining was finally released, and it was uproarious. For having spearheaded illicit talks with ExxonMobil that eroded US $105.5 million in profits due to this country, Mr. Gosai will lose 15 days' pay, and a warning letter has been issued to him. The ministry sought refuge in public service rules for the embarrassing disparity between the discipline and the scale of the transgression, even though it is debatable whether those rules applied in this case. While the slap to the wrist of Mr. Gosai will be classified as a great escape, The reputational damage done to him and the government's image as custodian of the country's oil and gas revenue is immense. First, the Atlantic breadth of Mr. Gosai's infringement should have immediately caused a loss of confidence by the government and the ministry in his ability to perform his duties. This should have resulted in his removal from the post or his resignation. Mr. Gosai's silence since the eruption of this scandal and his retention may signal that he has agreed to accept the blame for this fiasco. This is where it becomes quite difficult for the government and the ministry. After this let-off of Mr. Gosai, no independent-minded Guyanese will trust the ministry as the steward of the country's oil and gas revenues and wider governance of the sector. Let me continue. As is customary, the government is engaged in damage control to protect the people it has inserted into key positions. An independent investigation had been required of how exactly Mr. Gosai entered into negotiation with ExxonMobil. This would have entailed an examination of the roles played by him, Minister Barrett, an ExxonMobil negotiator, and all others who might have played a part. Such an investigation could have severely damaged all parties, and there could have been untold fallout for all. It was a risk that President Ali's government seemed unwilling to take, but the damage has already been done. The jaguar in the room is still to be addressed. How and when will Guyana be credited with the 105.5 million US in profit, which had been due to it, but which had been sequestered by the unjustified expenses claimed by ExxonMobil and partners? What injunctions have been issued by the government of Guyana to those oil companies to ensure that this long road ahead, that Guyana and its people are not once again denied what they are legally due from this abominable 216 production sharing agreement? See, I'll read a mouthful. Let me bring you in to say something, man. This scandalous thing where this man, they claim the man reduced 214 to just 3 million, and in this process, the government, us Guyanese, would have lost 105 plus million US. What are your take on this, man?
Scandalous might be a mild word, you know. There are more questions than answers, and the more I find out, the less I know, according to song. Paul, I'm not certain whether he is a public servant or a contracted worker. It appears though he is a contracted worker, because my little information is that he used to receive gratuity every 6 months. That would be a contracted worker. Therefore, he's not a public servant, but according to his contract, or a contract I've seen, persons like Bobby, Osai, they will come under the permanent secretary and not on the Police Service Commission, but you will be operating in the Police Service Commission, the Public Service Commission environment. And when you look at it, 214.4 US gone down to 3 million US. Perhaps it's simple. All you have to do, add, multiply, divide, or subtract. But perhaps subtraction was the dominant factor there. And when we look at the oil and gas situation, Barra Jagdeo has an iron hand over that oil and gas entity. He controls everything there. And let me give him his official position. Let me clear up some points. That Barra Jagdeo is the second vice president, but he's behaving as though he is the vice president and the only vice president. According to Article 102 of the Constitution, it states that the president may appoint vice presidents to assist him in the execution of his duties. And it says also the prime minister, if he is not a vice president, shall be appointed a vice president and shall hold precedent over any other vice president. So Jagdeo is a second vice president. I think only Gordon Mosley I hear normally refer him to a second vice president. And I don't hear anybody referring to the prime minister as the first vice president. Just the prime minister, full stop. And the word is, is Bobby Gusai a lone wolf? Did he do it on his own? Did he have the authority of the first vice president, the second vice president? Did he have the authority of the minister Barrett? How can he do it on his own? Something is radically wrong there. Perhaps he's covering for somebody. He's taking the blame. He's not a lone wolf. He had to get permission. He had to get authority from high up. And then the investigation was leaked out. And instead of them handling it properly, there are two ways you could handle it. You deal with it criminally or you deal with it departmentally. And if you're going to deal with it criminally, you have to hand over the investigation to the police. Give them all the statement, they do the investigation and decide whether there's enough evidence of a criminal nature. If not, you deal with it departmentally. But then he's not I don't think he's a public servant. But in the public service, if you're going to do matters, you have to appoint you have to appoint a body of men to investigate in the matter, and the man would have a right to be heard. And I look at the Constitution. I always look at the Constitution, Paul. And at the end of it, the Constitution saying that you're talking about penalties. Following are the penalties that may be imposed by the Commission by disciplinary proceedings brought against an officer in respect of misconduct, indiscipline, or unsatisfactory service. And this is Public Service Rule number 79. A, dismissal. B, reduction in rank, which is a removal to another grade with an immediate reduction in salary. C, reduction in remuneration, which is an immediate adjustment of remuneration to a low point on the scale of remuneration attached to the particular office, reprimand, or warning. So the person could be dismissed. It could be reduced in rank, where you have a low salary, or the salary could be reduced, or you could reprimand or a warning. And Rule 84 saying, on consideration of the report of findings by a disciplinary tribunal under Rule 75.1, the commissioner is so satisfied may exonerate the officer, dismiss the officer, or impose any of the penalties specified in Rule number 79.1. I've been looking at the Public Service Commission rule, and I didn't see anything about 15 days pay, which is a maximum. Perhaps that was in a circular somewhere along the line. But this thing is in such a serious nature that it entails nothing else than dismissal and maybe other consequences to follow. Yeah? And they're saying that if they're saying he's not a public service servant, how come you're quoting the public service rule that not more than 15 days pay? The whole thing is a sham. The whole thing is a sham, and cover up. And I'm saying it is my honest view that he is not a lone wolf. He is not a lone wolf. And if you're going to take action against him, the action has got to be firm action to prevent. Here's $214.4 million gone down to $3 million. Perhaps all they could do is subtract. They can't add, they can't multiply, they can't divide. This thing is stinking, and it's stinking to the bone. I'm making the point, if he's not a public servant, well, then how he's quoting public service rule. And if you're going to quote the public service rule, you have to state what the rule says about penalty. And it calls for dismissal, reduction in rank, reduction in pay, and warning also. So the whole thing stinks to high heaven, Paul. It is really stinking.
It stings to high heaven. And let me say this, based on what they claim that are 15 days pay. Now let's assume for argument's sake that this man is a public servant, right? So what is the amount this man is going to be docked? How much money making when the month? How much is a day pay? 20,000 Guyana dollars? I don't know. I just asking the question. 30,000 Guyana dollars? I'm sure the man getting some super salary. But what is a day's pay? So therefore, you're saying that even if you're giving me, let me say, you're getting $50,000 a day as a super salary man, $50,000, even more, right? Look at the amount. Let me say you give me $100,000 a day as they pay 15 days, pay 1.5 million. So you're saying that a man who reduce a figure causing the country to use according to what the news is saying, 100 and something million US dollars. That is what the punishment is going to be. That is what the punishment with a warning letter. The public service rule carries dismissal too. So I don't really understand what is happening here. And as Public News is indicating, it is clear that there's a cover-up. They don't want any proper investigation, because if they were to be a proper investigation, other people would have been exposed. And so therefore, this is a knock on the wrist, a tap on the finger. Somebody shut your mouth. And I was in a group the other day, the men were saying that if it's 214 reduced to 3, what happened to the 211? Men were thinking up out the bus up and all this everything. But the thing stinks to high heaven. And you cannot have confidence in these people to manage these resources when things like that are happening. And as indicated in the news editorial, it is not until they started to ask questions and press, then eventually they reveal, yeah, we got to some investigation. What investigation? Who conducted this investigation? As my colleague said, if he's a public service, then you have to establish a tribunal to conduct the investigation. So all of this, as we would say in the country, is just salawala. All of this is just being done to throw wool over the public's eye, and then it's going to be business as usual. But take your thing, shut your mouth, because this afternoon he has not made any statement. He was instructed, I guess, not to make any statement, and that is how it goes. And I agree with you that this, some of these things, especially the oil and gas industry, is being tightly controlled by the second vice president. Everything is about oil and gas. The only person in Guyana who speaks more about oil and gas than him is Glenn Lal. It's oil and gas all the time he speaks about. And in speaking about gas, he spews a lot of gas. So that is what happened. I suspect he must be passing gas too. But that is what goes on. So this thing about Gusai is a real scandalous, stinking story. It's a stinking story. And while we might have short memories and all of that, people are going to remember them things. Just like how people will remember the Sugate matter. That stain is going to remain not only on the vice president, but on the country. People look at we as a backwater, perhaps correctly so, right? As a backwater country when you have all of these stinking scandals and nothing substantial is done, nothing. But let me move on, CC. I'm going to move now to this Venezuelan issue, because we got to continue keeping this Venezuelan issue in the forefront of the minds of the Guyanese public. And where do I start? Let me start by saying I understand that at the last press conference held by the vice president, he has these press conferences every Thursday where he discuss out and he just pass information and he say all sort of things. I understand last Thursday in reference to the Venezuelan issue, one of the few times he mentioned the Venezuelan issue, it is alleged that he said, I didn't hear it, it is alleged that he said that some people are trying to capitalize on the current Venezuelan situation for political mileage and all of that. Well, I know we have been demonstrating there Tuesdays, Thursdays when we get the time. We have been going there and we have been making noise. We have been calling for this matter to be addressed in a more comprehensive matter. And I am happy to say that we don't want praise, but I am happy to say that we called on the people to meet, government to meet with everybody, and we said that this should be No politics should be involved here. They met, government and the opposition met. So we are taking praise, but we note that we are called for that. We call for education on this program. We said people should be educated. Guyanese public should be educated as to what this issue, this controversy is all about. I have noted with pleasure that they announced that there's some border committee they're going to do the education. We call on this program for Parliament to meet. I am happy to announce that I saw, and I'm going to read it here. This is on October the 27th. Extraordinary sitting of National Assembly for November the 3rd on Venezuela border controversy. And it says, amid rising tension and a controversial referendum planned by Caracas on December the 3rd, an extraordinary sitting of the National Assembly will be held on Friday, November the 3rd, to consider a motion on the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. This is according to a release today from Parliament Office. The government and the opposition have underlined their solidarity in recent days in rejecting belligerents from Venezuela on the border controversy. So yeah, we have called for that, and it's good to know that it is going to, on Friday, they're going to have this thing. But I'm saying this is an opportunity for us to show, us Guyanese, to show that we're all one in this. So while Venezuela had their big rallies and so on, people should come out. I am saying, I don't know if plans are afoot to have this, but while this debate is going on in Parliament, the whole place should be flooded with Guyanese in the thousands. Perhaps just like how we had for the cancer walk yesterday, they say over 10,000 to register that we are strongly in support of the government and the opposition in challenging this craziness from Venezuela. We have to show that. Now, going back to the vice president said that people trying to get political mileage on this thing. I am saying here and now, there are at least 3 issues that the vice president should not be speaking on, in my view. One, the vice president, the second vice president should not be speaking about corruption, because Vice News at this expose where it is alleged that he takes bribe to give contract. You know, the Sugate that I'm talking about is over here. That matter is not investigated. So that stench is still there in the air. And I'm saying that until a proper investigation is done to clear the name of the vice president, he should not be speaking on corruption unless he is speaking as an expert witness. Unless he's speaking as an expert witness, he should not be speaking about corruption. The vice president should not be speaking about domestic violence, because he was credibly accused by his wife of domestic violence, even though he made a statement and tend to suggest that domestic violence is only physical violence. No, domestic violence is not only physical violence. And let me read what the allegation was. In the wife said that for 2 years, for a 2-year period, she was denied access to the presidential apartment at State House. If she was not home by 6 p.m., she explained, the apartment door will be locked with the latch from the inside, so she could not open it with her key. When I was locked out, I would have to spend the night on a sofa on the 4th floor without a sheet, getting murdered by mosquitoes, praying for the night to pass quickly so I could get into my room, bed, and go to office or to my public engagements. She added that even when she was home before the time, she would simply be in her own room by herself, reading and listening to music. She later relocated to an empty guest room on the opposite side of the house that did not require going into the president's apartment. We were 2 people living separately under one roof. That is what the wife alleged. So I'm saying that the president should not be speaking about domestic violence. The vice president, should not be speaking about domestic violence again, unless he's given evidence as export evidence in this matter. And he should not also speak on this Venezuela border controversy, because let me say why. Let me tell you why you should not speak on it, and let me key up and tell you why. Listen to this carefully. Why you should not speak on the Venezuelan border controversy. Listen, please. Listen.
You could probably on the maritime area give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
This same gentleman was prepared to give a corridor to the Atlantic, to Venezuela. A corridor to the Atlantic. Let the world know it. We are talking about defending our territorial integrity, and you are talking about giving up some of it to the Venezuelans.
Saying, therefore, with regards to that statement, President should not be speaking, the Vice President should not be speaking on the border issue because he wanted to give up. He wanted to give concession to them. And I, made the point before, people were making this point about treason. And, they say treason is the attempt to overthrow a government by one of its citizens and so on. But not only that, treason is also giving aid and succor to your enemy. Once you assist the enemy, it is a treasonous act. And in this case, if you're going to do an investigation, all you have to prove is that in this case, the Vice President is a citizen of Guyana, which there's no doubt that he is. You have to prove that that Venezuela is an enemy. And if you go all the way back to 1962 or perhaps even before that, all the actions of Venezuela, in 62, they lay claim to our unlawful claim to our territory. That is the act of an enemy. In 1966, they took over part of Ankoko, act of an enemy. 1970, they bombarded Bank police station. You have had allegation that in the 1969 Rupununi uprising, the 2nd of January 1969, those rebels, as they were referred to, were trained and armed by Venezuelan entities, right? Act of an enemy. You had the maritime, they've been expelling vessels, including fishing vessels, from our exclusive economic zone. So you have all of those things, and the most recent with this referendum and all of that. So I believe you have enough evidence to show that these people are your enemy. And I'm saying that if you wanted to give concession to them, then you might be providing aid and comfort to the enemy. And according to Black's Law Dictionary, if you provide aid and comfort to the enemy, it is a treasonous act. So you should not be speaking on that matter. Should not be speaking on that, but he has no moral authority to speak on that matter. And having said that, let me move on to say, over the last weekend, the president, the real president, I say real, I get it a little controversially. President Ali, let me say President Ali, because some people might say he's not a real president, was on the Essequibo, where the look story here, man. The man addressed people on the Essequibo. Look how the man was fitted out. The man was fitted out in a Castro-style uniform, with cap and all of that. And the man addressed the people on the Essequibo coast there at some activity they had with the chief of staff standing alongside. I had to make a laugh at this thing because even though this thing is very, very serious, to see the president dressed in what some people claim is a Halloween costume. Some people are saying this thing got to be a Halloween costume. Tomorrow is in the U.S., it's Halloween, the day of the zombie and the dead and all sort of macabre story. So tomorrow is the day. Well, we had our president on Friday night, dressed up in his own uniform, with cap and all. And the man called and he said among other things that the GDF, the Ghana Defense Force, are gonna prepare to defend the country. Look, let me tell you something. Don't delude yourself into believing that we can get involved in any military confrontation. Our posture got to be on the diplomatic front. And that is where we should keep it. But forget about, I know the GDF got a role, intelligence and all of that. But don't for one moment believe that we want to get into any military confrontation. Not for one moment, Mr. President. We shouldn't be thinking about that. So while the GDF doing the work and all of that, yes, which is okay, we should not get there because remember the chief of staff who stood to your right in this thing, He's a man who gets emotionally disturbed very early. A member of parliament made a statement to him which he claimed to be false, and he said that he was emotionally disturbed, so much so that he made a report to the police and filed a criminal charge, cybercrime charge against the member of parliament. So don't look out for any real soldiering from the chief of staff. CC, let me hear your comment on this uniform thing, man. Somebody said Barnum style. Let me hear what are your comments here in this.
Well, I will call it a zombie uniform, you say Halloween. Borden used to wear uniform, right? But Borden used to look the badges of rank. You used to see the badges of rank there. I mean, if you put it on the thing, put on the badge of rank, either some general or something. And we used to make joke that the only uniform Borden never used to wear was the WRSM uniform. But Borden was a statesman. Now the president, I mean, he jumping what the place making little statements here and there. But he's still to address the nation. He got to address the nation properly. He got to make a definite statement. He got to make a structured statement to the nation. Don't mind how short it must be a thing to the nation. Let the nation know Guyana's position. And as you rightly say, Commodore Dr. Gary Best, that our first line of defense is diplomacy, our diplomatic relations. We should have been going all over the world. I read recently that the Attorney General, Mr. Know-it-all, addressed some conference the other day and raised Guyana's position. I don't know if the doctor, Van West Charles, is in Caracas. I don't know what staff we get in Caracas. We should have been it anyway, anytime, every opportunity we got. Stay at our claim, stay at our position. And going back to the point, the president must address the nation, not only putting on a zombie uniform and walking about the place. No. Face the nation, and we have all the evidence there. We get plenty speech writers. We get a whole set of advisors. Come and make a proper speech to us, so that we can be able to set our mind at ease. And I said over and over, diplomacy is it, our intelligence, or look at our economy, and on our military. I agree that we can't go with all out war with Venezuela, but we can take them on in certain areas. We could defend ourselves in certain areas. And if I might go back to the extended squatter, what is he doing? He should have been going on the borders and talking to our ranks. I said last week, charter aircraft, because he couldn't charter aircraft to fly to Skeldon. He couldn't charter aircraft and fly to Rosal and fly back to Ogle to just do inspect certain projects. Our human resource is critical, and he should have been there visiting people. Fly by aircraft, go by road, go by boat, and talk to those persons at the critical locations. I know what I'm talking about because I experienced it as a suborder officer. I went to those locations. I worked to the location. I experienced Venezuelans' aggression. The aircraft buzzing over the station, buzzing over the station in our airfield. I experienced that. And as commander, I know I went to the Wenemu. I've been to Ankoko, and I've been to other areas. I traversed the Cayuni River several times. And we need to talk to our ranks, and we need to inspire them. You need to inspire them, not sit down, not cooking, storing pot for the president or the elected functions, flavoring the dance. And like what happened on Saturday in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, they had some place where they're selling foodstuff and so on at a cheap rate. They should look at our primary role And we need to put pressure on the president to make sure that the situation with Venezuela is a priority, is on the top of our list, it was on the front border, and we must start with it at all occasions. And saying the president, I want to see in a uniform, he must address our nation not in that uniform, because there's a zombie uniform. He must address Halloween uniform. He must address our nation on the Venezuelan crisis as a matter of urgency.
As a matter of urgency, look at the troll. The troll said, Slow, what about you corruption? Tell the Guyanese people, well, I ain't even pay you no mind. I have never been accused of any corrupt act until since you know the story, 2021, when they want to get us off of the commission, and the trial going on, tomorrow is court again. So, Roy Anthony, you know when they come, you know the trolls, you got a profile picture, you know, you get some lion, and he's actually, you got to be a pussycat, the Roy Anthony. It shouldn't be a lion, it should be a pussycat. But, you know, CC talking about, we're not going to be distracted, but talking about addressing the nation. In 1966, when Venezuela, as we indicated previously, moved into our part of Ancoco, the Prime Minister then addressed the nation. Listen to what he had to say.
At one point of Guyana's western border with Venezuela, the Renamo River flows into the Cuyuni River, and there is an island at this junction called Ancoco Island of about 2 to 3 square miles. According to the map in existence since 1904, the border runs roughly through the center of Ancoco Island from north to south, so that the western part of the island is Venezuelan and the eastern Guyanese. For some time, in fact during last month, a number of Venezuelans were crossing onto the Guyanese side and have since then been carrying out certain works on our territory. The report of this came to the notice of the government a few days ago only, and an inspection party consisting of senior officials and 2 senior police officers visited the island the day before yesterday, Wednesday the 12th of October. This party verified and confirmed the earlier report received through unofficial channels. In the opinion of the government, this intrusion by Venezuelans constitutes a breach of the Geneva Agreement entered into between the governments of the United Kingdom and Venezuela on the 17th of February 1966, to which agreement the government of Guyana is now a party. And today I have sent a cable to Dr. Iribarren Borges, the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, strongly protesting the intrusion of Venezuelan personnel onto Guyanese territory and asking that immediate steps be taken by the government of Venezuela to ensure the immediate withdrawal of all such personnel. I have this morning informed the leader of the opposition of the situation and held discussions with him. Meanwhile, I await a reply from the Venezuelan government. I consider it my duty to inform the nation of this latest development and to assure you that every step is being taken to retain our territorial sovereignty by peaceful means. Your government proposes to abide by the terms of the Geneva Agreement and is hopeful that the government of Venezuela will do likewise. You are asked to remain calm and to await further information. Long live Guyana.
Guyana, 83,000 square miles. 83,000 square miles, not a blade of grass. And you know, look, when you listen to that, and listen to this part, listen again.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area.
This same gentleman.
Yeah, that is what the plan was, to make a slight concession in the maritime area. That is what it is. You know, let me continue with this matter. I read this morning, I think it is Kaichor News, scores of Venezuelans deported from Essequibo Coast. And the article says, I'm going to do a small part, scores of Venezuelan nationals were on Sunday deported by the authorities after entering the country illegally in an iron boat at Ana Regina, Essequibo Coast on Saturday. According to reports reaching Kaichor News, close to 100 Venezuelan nationals arrived in the boat on Saturday. A joint operation by the Guyana Defense Force and the Guyana Police Force saw the foreigners being detained upon their arrival. Kaichor News learned that the Venezuelans spent the night at the Ana Regina fire station and were flown back to the border in the GDF's Kaivan aircraft. Chaos, however, erupted while the migrants were being transported to Hampton Court Aerodrome by bus. Scenes were captured on video. The Venezuelans jumped out of the windows of the moving bus at Ana Regina and ran away in a bid to escape. They were all recaptured quickly. More videos surfaced subsequently on Sunday of more boatloads of Venezuelans being intercepted in the Essequibo River at Perico. Some were intercepted during the night, and in desperation, they plunged overboard in an attempt to swim away from the police. There is a Kaichor News article in today's paper. But I want to say this. It is encouraging to me to see the government is taking some action to intercept these people and send them back. And I hope they will take the same type of action for those who are already illegally in the country. If they are illegally in the country, they should be sent back to Venezuela. And those who are coming here as refugees, we have to have a control system. This country is claiming two-thirds, Venezuela is claiming two-thirds of Guyana. And we should not be allowing Venezuelan nationals just to invade the country, because the invasion has started, It's a soft invasion. Don't look for no military invasion with war tanks and plane. It seems that the plan is let them come into the Essequibo and elsewhere, occupy the land in the hundreds of thousands, and then we're going to have a situation like what Ukraine faced with Crimea. Crimea was occupied by Russian-speaking persons from Russia and from Ukraine, and then Russia used that as an excuse to come in and to annex Crimea. And the Venezuelans have already said that they want to have a referendum on the 3rd of December to determine whether they could annex Essequibo. Essequibo will then, according to what they're saying, become a state of Venezuela. That is what the people are planning, and we are sitting back quietly and allowing it. Some say the good thing that they are being intercepted and they are being sent back. We should also make sure that those who are already here are rounded up and sent back if they're illegal. If you're legal, people talk about family ties and all of that, fine. We are a lawful people. We are a lawful people. And we should make sure that we continue to abide with the law. CC, what is your take on this roundup and the tape from Mr. Bornham and all of that?
I don't agree with many of Bornham's policy, but I listened to the tape, and I listened to it over and over again. He had vision. He was clear. He was concise. he was accurate, and he was very surgical. I love it. He sent a clear message to the Guyanese population and a clearer message to Venezuela in terms of our position. A statesman's message. And that's what I expect from our president. That's what I expect from him. I don't want him to see a lot of antics and then we want to say that people want to make front page and all that kind of thing and then come in with a jumbie uniform. No. Let him come and address us. And I love Fab's Burnham message. It was top of the line. And in relation to these persons who come in Guyana, we don't know who they are. I hope that the report is true in Kaicho that they send people down to Iterimban. I don't know how much trips the GDS Kaiban made to that location. And I recall years ago, I think I was a couple at their quarters when Venezuela sent, I think, about 8 persons to Iterimban. They say they're Guyanese. They have no paper or anything in it. They claim that their parents, when they're small, their parents died, but they had no documentation. So they say they're Guyanese and they send it to us. We weren't clear, we didn't have anything. I remember Light Barker was the commissioner of police. And Light Barker said, hey, let them come to town. And they came to Georgetown. We flew them to Mabruma and then by boat to Imbatiro, and we put them on the other side of the border. And that was the end of them. So we don't know who come in. Sometimes those persons were spies or military persons and all kind of thing, But there we accepting boatloads of people. I heard at Wakenham, a boatload, share men, not a child, not a woman, share men boatload. And then I remember Minister Ben, he said when those landed on the west coast of Demerara, he said, I don't know if that was an intelligence report, that they have a floating base at the Atlantic awaiting the cover of darkness to come and land. They stash away, they use the word stash away on floating base in the Atlantic awaiting to come and land during the covers of darkness. So they must hear all about the place. And they're going to flood Guyana if we don't think, and we must not just accept them like that. Even so we accept them, must go through a proper process of screening, not a 1-hour session. And they must be in a controlled environment, as we mentioned, a control and not walking about the place as they like. I mean, some are Guyanese, if we verify Guyanese parentage, especially if their mother is a Guyanese well and all things. Sometimes we don't bother too much with the father, but if their mother is a Guyanese. That the thing is that we must not just accept people like that. If they come, they land illegally, there must be proper process, there must be proper screening. And if we have a sendbacks, those that we not satisfied are properly documented, they must go back to Venezuela. And if they come illegally, they must go back to Venezuela. That's all I need to say about it.
I fully agree. They should go back once they are they don't have the right papers and so on. But let me say this. Before I go on, I just saw that Afghanistan just defeated Sri Lanka. So another mini upset, I should say. Now, let me say this. Somebody spoke about the policia. Now, let me read what somebody said. The vice president is reported, that is the second vice president, Mr. Jagdew, is reported to have said that the placing of the word policia, or we just said policia, but policia, but my Spanish-speaking friend said that the word should be pronounced policia. And the second vice president is saying that placing the word policia on the police vehicle was misguided and that it was expected that it would be removed. He is reported to have said that other languages can be placed in smaller letters to assist people to identify the police. The statement was in response to comments by residents at a meeting in Dazel housing scheme on Saturday. October the 28th. Well, perhaps it's a good, well, not perhaps, it is a good move to get rid of that policia from the police vehicles, as well as those Spanish signs in the police stations, including the police stations, or especially police stations in the region claimed by Essequibo, right? And this thing about smaller, what he said, what his report have said, space, smaller letters to assist. What nonsense is that? What nonsense is that? You want to tell me that people, Spanish-speaking people, even if they see a police vehicle with the word police in English, can't recognize that is a police vehicle? You have to put Spanish in smaller letters or other languages in smaller letters? That is rubbish. That is craziness. The word policia should be removed completely from the police vehicles, from the police stations, and all those other languages should be removed from the police station. The thing is even so ridiculous that the police station at Springlands, and for those of you who know, Springland is way to the east of Guyana, border with Suriname. Suriname is a Dutch-speaking country, but the police station at Springlands has Spanish writing to welcome people. So in other words, that is an acceptance, a tacit acceptance that these Venezuelan Spanish-speaking people have gone all the way to Springlands. That is what they are telling us. And we're saying that should not be allowed to continue. Take off the signs. And I looked at the signs, and they are not painted on as well, the ones on the vehicles. It's a kind of a vinyl type of thing. So it's easy to come off. And I'm sure that if instructions are given today for those things to be removed, by tomorrow, all going to come off because they're easy to come off. And I'm sure you'll get volunteers to remove it. Which brings me to the next point. Wonder how much money they paid and to whom to have those signs made and placed on the police vehicle. Because everything is running, Everything is running, my friend. Everything. My students, everything in this place is running. Somebody would have made millions and millions of dollars to have the word policia and have all of those signs placed in the station. So that is what we have. That is how we have. Now, in closing, let me say this. Let me bring in Mr. Conway first, and then I'll give you my closing remarks. Cici, your closing remarks, please.
Perhaps they collected the money, and like what happened in Region 6, they're going parks, they're going to beg people for money for put on the signs on those vehicles and for write them on the building. So it's runnings and runnings are wrong. In this oil-producing country, this country, we say the fastest growing economy in the world, they have to beg. They beg people for money for put on things on the vehicle, policia, and on the buildings. So maybe they collected the money and then they're going to beg the people, push the money in their pocket, and that's it.
What a way. Everything, as I say, everything is running. Everything is running. So thank you, my friend. Thank you, my brother. Now, folks, in terms of updates, let me tell you that tomorrow, that's Tuesday the 31st, we have an appointment with the court. So in this conspiracy to commit fraud, I'm going to come out and say I should talk about allegation, not corruption. Slow was never involved in corruption. All the years, 37 years in the job, 37 years in the police force, and 11 years thereafter with Cricket West Indies, never ever get involved in anything corrupt or anything illegal or anything criminal. In 2021, they give me a trumped-up charge, conspiracy to commit fraud. I, along with other officers. Tomorrow, the trial continues at the Georgetown Magistrate Court, so we'll be there tomorrow. I can't go into the details of the case as it is unfolding at this stage, but buddy, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's another Halloween joke. It is mere jokes. So we continue tomorrow. Now, in terms of other programs, we're not sure how the court schedule will go. Tomorrow we will know when the matter will continue. It's not going to finish tomorrow, I don't think, even though it could, but I don't think it would. So I'm not sure if you're going to be on Wednesday or for the remainder of the week, or when is the next day we are going to be on, because at the end of tomorrow's session, the magistrate will let us know when the matter is adjourned to, and based on that, we'll be able to determine whether we're going to have a program on Wednesday or any other day in this week, or whether we are going to have our demonstration in front of the Venezuelan embassy on Thursday. We have been doing that Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tomorrow is Tuesday, we get court, so we can't do that. So depending on the schedule, we may or we may not be able to do it on Thursday. We will keep you informed. We are going to keep you informed and updated. So as we would normally say, let's look to see if this policia thing is being removed from the vehicle. And the vice president said on Saturday at a public meeting at Dazzle House in Scream in response to a question from the audience that he said that the decision was a misguided decision. Wonder who made the decision? I understand from my sources that the decision came all the way from the top. So I wonder who made the decision. And I'm saying again, there is this extraordinary sitting of the National Assembly on Friday to discuss this or to debate this aggressive action by Venezuela, and we should all be there to make sure we lend support to the government and the opposition as they unite to fight this spurious claim by Venezuela. I don't know if we're going to have court on Friday. If they don't have, I will be there. I don't know if what time it is. I expect at some stage, normally Parliament, I know I think it's 2 o'clock or something like that. We don't know. But keep your ears out and let's go and give our support to the government and the opposition in this matter. This has no politics. We as Guyanese must unite and show the world that on this issue, we are one, not a blade of grass, not a blade of grass. And perhaps I will end with that song and to say, God's willing, we'll see you either Wednesday or whenever next we get the opportunity to see you. Until then, bye.
One rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. This land is our land now. We're gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow.